Mr. Maluleka, very good afternoon to you. Thank you for coming in. The Minister, in releasing this report today, making it public, said it's raised nothing new. Do you share that view?
Well, I don't necessarily share the view, except that there are certain things that are not new, but there are some of the things that are new, no? Which basically the OECD has not been acknowledging. And to me, there are two outstanding issues that has to be accepted. One, it is that the report is saying the class size matter, because it says that the teachers who teach large class sizes don't spend a lot of time teaching. So therefore, they spend less time teaching, and that basically is affecting South Africa. But secondly, it talks about the issue of poverty, that poverty has a direct relation to absenteeism, but also to issues of violence in our schools. So before then, there have always been argument on whether these have got an impact on the learning situation. And the third one in South African context has been that resources don't matter. So don't worry about the environment of the school. So the report is clear. It says you need to increase the financial resources to improve the infrastructure. Over and above improving the infrastructure, it says teachers must be mentored, they must be inducted, and therefore increase the funding to ensure that those who are mentoring the teachers and inducting the teachers who are new in the system are then incentivized. So there are some new things that are coming out, and I think as a country we need to take those particular positives.
Another statistic coming out of this report, 53% of the country's principals who were surveyed say a shortage of teachers with competence is messing with the delivery of quality instruction. And that comes back to what you were raising as far as resources are concerned. It's not a new problem. Why have we so far failed to address it sufficiently?
Well, we should be asking that question to those who are saying we spend a lot of money in education, because that it goes back, why are we not employing the right people for the right job? Because in South African context, you have a teacher who is trained in physical science is sent to a school to teach biblical studies. A teacher who has specialized in languages is forced to teach mathematics. And that's why people are going to say they are not competent, but it's precisely because they are put in classrooms that they are not trained to teach, and is a problem of where do you get the trained teachers to replace them, and that is what we are struggling to have in the country.
That also impacts greatly, I suppose, Mr. Maluleka, on teachers' job satisfaction, because again in this report, another number, only 49% of surveyed South African teachers said that being in a classroom teaching is their first career choice. So that already paints a very bleak picture. If 51% of the people in our classrooms teaching these young people say if they could, they wouldn't be there.
Well, yes, it has to do with job satisfaction. We are struggling to attract good students to teaching, precisely because of the conditions that they work under, including the salaries, including the support that they are supposed to be receiving. Obviously, the report is also touching on the fact that many of the schools don't have support staff. So the teachers are having to face administrative work, face child care, and so forth. And that is what makes the 49% saying, look, this is our first choice, and obviously it's a problem. If they had anything, they would have taken something. It's precisely, but they know the conditions. But we still have a good number of teachers who love teaching, who improvise and making sure that they make a difference in the life of the children.
Majority of South Africans are poor, so as a result, our schools, majority of public schools, will have a lot of poor children coming through the corridors. We've had the introduction of the school feeding schemes, for example, but addressing the issue of poverty and its impact on a child would require a more holistic approach, wouldn't it, beyond just the provision of a meal at school every day?
Yeah, we've got to attend to the inequality in our country. So basically we have got to directly confront the issue of economic growth, because it has got, there's a correlation between what we see as violence in our schools, what we see as job satisfaction problems in our schools, precisely because the high level of inequality, poverty that is impacting on our society. So we've got to address those issues and confront them to ensure that, one, we build a strong economy that can create employment, that can restore the dignity and the confidence of the people, because inequality in any way damages the individuals in the society, and it has got this vicious cycle of crime, drug abuse, antisocial behavior, and so forth. So yes, poverty is an issue. And I'm happy that it's been acknowledged for a change by this report that poverty has an impact on the learning situation in our schools.
On behavioral issues alone, there's another number that's come out in this report today. 34%, I beg your pardon, 34% of surveyed school principals reporting weekly intimidation and bullying. Have we been able to quantify just how much the apparently increasing incidents of violence at our schools are taking away from the primary task of instruction and learning?
Well, the issue of a quantification of these incidences in the school environment is a little bit very difficult, given the fact that one is whether we have principal willing to report such incidences, because they tend to have negative image to the school, and the reputation of the school suffers. So we still have got underreporting about the incidences. Secondly, the issue of quantification has got to be attended to, because the teacher who spends a lot of time attending to order clearly is denying the rest of the children in the classroom that time that we are supposed to be. So it's costly to attend to behavioral problem for the school. So yes, there are some numbers that we have crunched to show how much this is costing, and therefore it impact on the entire schooling system.
Speak to us about the issue of language and how it ties in to the broader picture of trying to repair the South African education system and get it to a place where we don't get reports that say pupils in grades 3, 6, and 9 are still unable to read on par with children in other parts of the world.
Well, we're happy as a South African Democratic Teachers Union, because this has always been what we have been saying, that teaching in mother tongue is fundamental if we are to build resilience in our children, but also to have them acquire the level of proficiency that is required for them to learn science, to learn mathematics, and any other content subject. So now we are happy that the minister is acknowledging that the fact that, yes, the learners are not able to read, not because the teachers are not teaching, but because it's a language barrier that we have got to confront. So maybe we'll start seeing a lot of investment in training the teachers, first and foremost, in their mother tongue, so that they are then able to teach our children in mother tongue before you introduce the second language of English. Countries like Cambodia, countries like Thailand have listened to what the UNESCO has said about mother tongue, and they have really overtaken us, because they started teaching all their native languages, all their dialects to the foundation phase, including the great arts and so forth, and they have overtaken us in mathematics and science. So we are happy that we have been vindicated, that language is very, very critical for learning.
Lastly, and very briefly, please, as we conclude, I want to talk about the role of teachers. You, as unions, have been criticized quite a lot in the past for, some would say, holding the education system ransom and not doing your part and bargaining to suit some sort of political position, whatever it may be at the convenient time. Looking at where we are now, would you say that the likes of SADTU are indeed coming to the party and playing their role to ensure that we produce the best quality of school pupils?
SADTU is going to continue to demand that we have got to improve the quality of education. So if our labeling of SADTU is because we are demanding infrastructure, it's because we are demanding the eradication of pit toilets and mud schools, then please, you are going to hear us again fighting for those particular issues, because that's where quality education comes from. So SADTU is willing to be engaged on whether we have been disruptive. What we have been saying, it was to say to the nation, please understand that there are barriers to learning, there are barriers for us to be able to teach, the violence is impacting on our lives and so forth. So yes, we are playing our role as the teachers.
Mugana Maluleka, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
You're welcome, sir.